The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes, Part 1. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French-cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a jewelled twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, under the jewelled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered, and clashed in the dark inn yard. He tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into a long black hair. And dark in the dark old inn-yard a stable wicket creaked, where Tim the ostler listened. His face was white and peaked, his eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like mouldy hay, but he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, but I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight, I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups. He scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair in the casement. Her face burnt like a brand, as a black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed its waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet black waves in the moonlight! Then he tugged at his rein in the moonlight, and galloped away to the west. Part 2. He did not come in the dawning, he did not come at noon, and out of the tawny sunset, before the rise of the moon, when the road was a gypsy's ribbon, looping the purple moor, a redcoat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead, but they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of a narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her casement, with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through her casement the road that he would ride. They had tied her up to attention, with many a sniggering jest. They had bound a musket beside her, with a muzzle beneath her breast. "Now keep good watch," and they kissed her. She heard the doom man say, "Look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight, I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it, the trigger at least was hers. The tip of one finger touched it, she strove no more for the rest. Up she stood to attention, with a muzzle beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing, she would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her love's refrain. To-lot, 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 had they heard it, the horse hoofs ringing clear. To-lot in the distance, were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The redcoat looked to the priming, she stood up, straight and still. To-lot in the frosty silence, to-lot in the echoing night, nearer he came and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath, then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurned to the west. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head o'er the musket, drenched with her own blood. Not till the dawn he heard it, and his face grew grey to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched for her love in the moonlight, and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him, and his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs, and the golden noon wine red was his velvet coat, when they shot him down on the highway, down like a dog on the highway, and he lay in his blood on the highway, with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is ghastly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, 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 a highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters, and clangs in dark inn yard. He taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. Sea Fever by John Masefield. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day, with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume, and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick is over. If This Is Your Final Destination by Nick Flynn. They say you are made of clouds. They say you are made of feathers. They say you are everywhere or nowhere. We know you are both. Our flight is delayed. This airport another nowhere. If this is your final destination, the air murmurs, if a stranger or anyone you do not know well offers you anything. But how well, and what's he offering, and is this our final destination? At the hotel, a man hands us the key to room 313, home for a week or so. On the lobby TV, a woman, once apparently enormous, holds up her old jeans up to her body and smiles. Neil Diamond sings, and when I go into the bathroom he follows. Everybody has one. Paradise is cloudless, they say. Impossible to know. Yesterday a man was sucked into the earth as he slept. A sinkhole opened below his bed. Not even his brother could save him. In the hotel restaurant, my daughter orders cornflakes. They come with a pitcher of milk. She pours nearly all of it into her bowl. Until I stop her, she will keep on pouring. 3 more TVs are screwed into the wall above us. A car goes round and round. A pitcher throws a baseball. A woman slams her racket to the clay. My daughter pushes her bowl away, picks 2 packets of jelly from the basket, pulls plastic off one, then the other, lifts each to her tongue, red, then purple. The wallpaper is the texture of trees, a landscape seen from above, a contour map of an unnamed mountain, people wandering the face of it. If we were closer, we could tell river from leaf, mountain from shadow, a fire making, unmaking itself. What is this strand of DNA between us, unconnected to and of the shadows parading past, our outlines already chalked into the earth? I live on air and light. I drag my daughter everywhere. This morning she muttered Federer, 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 like a spell, and it was as if he stood before us again, his perfect red jersey. How many mornings, the sun not yet up, did I swivel on the red stool at the supermarket lunch counter, my mother in back extruding doughnuts, the aisles dark and empty behind us. She'd bundled me into the car, still sleeping, to get there. I'd twirl or wander or make toast, contemplating the basket of butter and jelly, each in its little wasteful tub, impervious to air or time or decay. Angel of grape, your purple body not only filled those coffins, but took the shape of those coffins. Emptiness made whole, colour now a shape. Angel, my daughter now, wants only you. She asks for the whole basket. She pulls back each sheet, puts her tongue in. Strawberry is her favourite, because it tastes like strawberry. On the funeral of Charles I at night in St. George's Chapel, Windsor, by William Bowles. The castle clock had tolled midnight, with mattock and with spade, and silent by the torch's light, his corse in earth we laid. The coffin bore his name, that those of other years might know, when earth its secret should disclose, whose bones were laid below. Peace to the dead, no children sung, slow pacing up the nave. No prayers were read, no knell was rung, as deep we dug his grave. We only heard the winter's wind in many a solemn gust, as o'er the open grave inclined we murmured dust to dust. A moonbeam from the arch's height streamed as we placed the stone. The long aisles started into light, and all the windows shone. We thought we saw the banners then that shook along the walls, whilst the sad shades of mailed men were gazing on the stalls. 'Tis gone again, on tombs defaced, sits darkness more profound, and only by the torch we traced the shadows on the ground. And now the chilling, freezing air without blew long and loud. Upon our knees we breathed one prayer where he slept in his shroud. We laid the broken marble floor, no name, no trace appears, and when we closed the sounding door, we thought of him with tears. Bereavement by William Lyle Bowles. Who was that gentle voice that, whispering sweet, promised me thought-long days of bliss sincere? Soothing, it stole on my deluded ear, most like soft music that might sometimes cheat. Thoughts dark and drooping, 'twas the voice of hope, of love and social scenes it seemed to speak, of truth, of friendship, of affection meek, that, oh, poor friend, might to life's downward slope. Lead us in peace and bless our latest hours. Ah, me! The prospect saddened as she sung. Loud on my startled ear the death bell rung. Chill darkness wrapped the pleasurable bowers, whilst horror, pointing to yon breathless clay, "No peace be thine," exclaimed, "away, away." Evening by William Lyle Bowles. Evening, as slow thy placid shades descend, veiling with gentlest hush the landscape still, the lonely battlement, the farthest hill and wood, I think of those who have no friend, who now, perhaps, by melancholy led from the broad blaze of day, where pleasure flaunts, retiring, wander to the ringdove's haunts, unseen, and watch the tints that are thy bed. Hang lovely, oft to musing fancy's eye, presenting fairy veils, where the tired mind might rest beyond the murmurs of mankind, nor hear the hourly moans of misery. Alas, for man, that hope's fair views the while should smile like you, and perish as they smile. In the Bone-Cracking Cold by M. Bartley Seigel. On this cross-quarter day, quick to temper and cool, your long lashes startle me with their rhyme of hoarfrost, and I am snared like a rabbit pulled into your gravity by run of our long love affair together. The seasons race past, one following another, and the rising sap is soon to halo the maples again. I will happily freeze in the bone-cracking cold, just to watch you walk slowly through this sugar bush, rare as a sundog incandescent in a fog of softly falling snow. After Dark by Laura Lee Bird. The windows open. Mothy air rests dark wings on my darker hair. One by one the clothes I wear drop wearily off. My body, bare, perceives with many eyes the trees, the shadow-shrouded sleepy trees, the poplar and the blood-black rose, whose shade a drowsy languor throws about each thorn, about each leaf, a shutting husk, a deathy sheaf of silences no mortal knows. Evening by Laura Lee Bird. A whippoorwill sounds clear his evening call. The crystal stars all linger in a haze of violets and fading blues and greys that rise in mists to veil the ending days. Here, in the dusky stillness, my heart grows eerie cold. The dark will not come swiftly, as this when I am old. Three Poems by J. Duvon. Here by the unremembering river, watching the island trees in the wind and sudden flurries in the darkening water, saying the words, "All this is ours, and here is our life together." This, the sharp force of it, the keen hope of it, and the sun low by the hills, and the river before us. All this ours, and there is nothing we cannot do with it. As for myself, my heart is carved from these things, the fine blue veins in her temples, her hands firm, the smooth haste of her stride, and from all the small, still, secret things, and in the half-light seeing, a blue shadow on the throat, and the delicate hairs on the curve of the arm softer than the sun. My heart is carved from the warmth of her waxen ears. Together there is strength and purpose.